I'm now going to call on the Vice Chairman to take over this part of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. May I invite members to join me in our opening prayer? Almighty God, the source of knowledge and understanding, guide the minds of those who are about to take counsel together on matters concerning this county, that in their debate and in their decisions, they may faithfully discharge the duties of their office and promote the health, safety and well-being of those they seek to serve. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillors, officers and members of the public who are listening in via the Zoom webcast, welcome to our council meeting this evening. I'd like to remind members, with the exception of Councillor Johnson, to please stand when addressing the chair and ensure your microphone is switched on when speaking for the benefit of the webcast and the recording. When voting, please ensure your hand is fully raised and wait until voting is confirmed before lowering it. Thank you very much. Mr. Delaney, do we have any apologies this evening?
Chairman, we've received apologies from Councillors Beggy, Corby, Edwards and Heckles. Therefore, councillors voting to 23 this evening.
Okay, thank you. Item 2, Chairman's announcements. Since the annual meeting of Council, I've attended the following civic engagements: Oakham School Speech Day, Oakham Pride event at Cuts Close alongside the Vice Chairman, Armed Forces flag raising in the grounds of Oakham Castle, visit of His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester in Ryle, and His Majesty's Lord Lieutenant's church service and party in the park. Item 3, announcements from the leader, members of cabinet or the head of paid service. So I'd like to invite the leader to address council.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I have attended a number of activities on behalf of the council since we last met. For example, Transport for the East Midlands, and these activities I decided were actually quite lengthy to describe, and therefore I have provided a written statement for Democratic Services who will append to the minutes. However, last week I also attended the Local Government Association conference, and the two main points I wanted to mention now, and I will write a bit more for you in the fullness of time, was that Mr. Gove spoke to us about the Levelling Up Bill, which is currently in the Lords. And one of the messages I took from it was that the rewrite of the National Planning Policy Framework won't happen until the bill has its royal assent. And that clearly has implication for us as we develop our local plan. And we are not the only council in this position. So that's a bit unfortunate, I think. He also talked about Oflog, which is the new government department collecting data from us, which we've all heard about. It seems to me, from what he was saying, that the purpose is to enable government to identify in advance which local authorities are about to fail. I am not convinced, and I'm sure many of you aren't, that looking at data is going to give us that information. However, it's what government wants. I went to a number of sessions, and this is what I will advise you of later in writing when I've got a chance. Interestingly, though, quite a lot of them were on waste management, and as that's something that we will be looking at, I think there are some potential lessons for us in that. So thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Waller. Do any members of the cabinet want to speak? I'll take that as a no. Item 4, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest this evening? Nope. Item 5, minutes of the previous meeting, pages 5 to 22 of your pack. So this is to confirm the minutes of the meetings of Rutland County Council held on the 27th of March and 22nd of May 2023. As many of the current members were not members on the 27th of March, I will take these separately. So I move that the minutes of the 27th of March be approved as an accurate record. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Those of you who weren't there really should be abstaining.
10, Chair.
Okay, those against? And abstentions?
I believe that's 13, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And I will also move that the minutes of the 22nd of May be approved as an accurate record. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harvey. All those in favour?
Unanimous, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Item 6, petitions, deputations and questions from members of the public.
None received, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Item 7, questions from members of the council. I think we have one. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chair. Could the Chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board please update Council on how the Integrated Care Board's 5-year forward plan delivers on the ambitions described in the Rutland Joint Health and Wellbeing Strategy, including our local targets, approaches and priorities? And could she also update Council as to the process being followed to ensure Rutland's view is shared formally with the ICB?
Chair, thank you, Councillor Harvey. So thank you for providing the opportunity to share with council members and general public the background to the Leicestershire Rutland Integrated Care Board 5-year plan and to summarise the steps that have been undertaken to ensure the joint health and wellbeing strategy and action areas are being addressed. I reflected on the question and consulted with my officers, carefully reread the official NHS guidance on the health and care bill and on the guidance of developing a joint forward plan, and was quite surprised about the flexibility, let's put away one way of putting it. So first, the guidance from the health and care bill, which states that integrated care boards are NHS bodies. This means that representatives from local authorities are included as members of the board to strengthen that collaborative working. But it goes on to explain that integrated care boards and integrated care partnerships will strengthen the partnerships between the NHS and the local authorities, with representatives from the public, patient perspective, voluntary sectors, and the wider public service provision. And it's expected that these bodies will support a change of culture towards greater collaboration and joint working in the future. So the Leicestershire and Rutland Integrated Care Board Joint Future 5-year plan was produced by the local Integrated Care Board according to NHS guidelines, which state that the ICB is encouraged to use the joint forward planning to develop a shared delivery plan for the integrated care strategy and the joint local health and wellbeing strategy developed by local authorities. And this may be through health and wellbeing boards, thereby reinforcing the separation of roles and responsibilities for the NHS and the local authority. Although the ICB and partner trusts have legal responsibility and accountability for developing and delivery, there's an expectation of local authority health overview and scrutiny committee inputs. To this end, the draft 5-year forward plan was shared with the Health and Wellbeing Board for all 3 authorities and included consultation on whether it took proper account of the joint local health and wellbeing strategy. Following consultation and feedback to LLR-ICB, we received a detailed response to submissions from the Rutland Health and Social Care Policy Consortium and a swift amendment to the Rutland County Council comment to include provision and recognition of the Armed Forces Covenant. We are truly fortunate to have a strong, positive relationship with LLR-ICB, thanks to parts to you, Councillor Harvey, and to be included in consultation with the local ICB. However, health provision improvements are only one part of the health and wellbeing strategy, and therefore there's a much wider remit to be taken into consideration when planning a local strategy. As a council, our priority is to continue working in partnership to obtain the services our community needs. And in response to your second question, the communication and engagement, to date, we have undertaken the following to ensure consultation with our key stakeholders. as part of the Wellbeing and Communication and Engagement Plan for Rutland. The initial draft was circulated to all members of the RCC Health and Wellbeing Board, and this includes representatives from RCC, Public Health, LLR ICB, Citizens Advice, Melton Rutland Police, local NHS trusts, Health Watch, and Armed Forces, amongst others. Feedback and comments were collated, approved by Kim Sorsky and myself, and forwarded. The updated draft, for the 5-year plan was received, circulated and discussed again at the last Health and Wellbeing Board. NHS England have reviewed the draft and confirmed it's a comprehensive plan. And the final plan is to be presented to the LLR ICB board meeting on the 13th of July. But what's interesting also is that the plan will be reviewed and refreshed annually. As to quote from the guidance once again, local systems are encouraged to develop a shared delivery plan for the integrated care systems, developed by the Integrated Care Partnership and the joint local health and wellbeing boards. However, the NHS does recognise that 2022-23 is a transition year for integrated care systems, and it will require time and extensive engagement to fully develop integrated care strategies. The annual refresh of the joint forward plans allows plans to be iterated and provides the opportunity for further engagement and collaboration, as well as the opportunity to reflect the most appropriate delivery mechanism and partners' actions. Since becoming chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board, I've met with a wide range of key individuals, and the most illuminating, I think, was the chair and chief exec of the LLR ICB. They confirmed that my role as chair is to contribute, but I have no voting rights and I can't change anything, but I can influence. So I am there to represent Rutland's population, to build on relationships, to enhance collaboration with the ICB and subsequently with the NHS. They also say their aim was to devolve local care, and that the funding mechanism, where the fund, as we should know, follows the patient, allows for referrals outside the LLR area, and to develop alliances with other ICBs and providers. My commitment is to continue to consult with key stakeholders to ensure that Rutland Joint Health and Wellbeing Strategy is implemented through the Rutland Place-Based Plan, so as chair of Health and Wellbeing Board is to continue to work closely to develop those relationships and to ensure alignment between our strategies. And I'd like to finish off by expressing my gratitude to the support I've received from the council officers and members of the Health and Wellbeing Board to help me produce this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison. Councillor Harvey, do you have a supplementary?
I do, please. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Ellison. My question would be around, because it's my understanding that the 5-year draft strategy wasn't seen by members of the Health and Wellbeing Board till after the election in draft form. And so I suppose I would ask that the implementation plan, whether you could maybe update us when that's done, for us to get reassurance on the 70% of our residents that go outside of LLR for care, because.
Do you want to add it one at a time? The first question.
Councillor Ellison, you'll have to put your microphone on. And do you want to do your questions in bit form?
Yeah.
Rather than, sorry, yes, you do only have one question, but
Yeah,
I mean,
it was. Yeah,
what is your actual question then?
I suppose then, just to get reassurance that the delivery plan that you spoke of will actually address the needs of our 70% of our residents that go outside of LLR, and that when it comes back next year, the Health and Wellbeing Board will have more time possibly to look at it, so that members can have more of a look at that.
Councillor Ellison.
Thank you very much. So what you're asking is, how much time did the Health and Wellbeing Board have in which to review the draft paper? Is that correct?
Can you clarify your supplementary, please? Councillor
I think it was, we could say that was a point of clarification that the Health and Wellbeing Board didn't see that draft till after the 22nd of May. That hadn't been sent round to members prior to that. But it would be to look forward to the implementation plan or the plan that's coming afterwards, and whether that will address the 70% of our residents that look outside LLR for their care.
So your question is, will that address the whatever you've said? Yes.
Yes,
Right, Councillor Ellison.
absolutely. We have every intention. Yes, we did consult. There are some time frames which I could provide you with, and the amount of consultation that went on. That's your first question. The second one, will we ensure that people go across the border? Yes. The big thing is there's a recognition, and the money follows the patient. We are talking to the other providers and the local ICBs in Northamptonshire, etc. And I'm very reassured by Leicestershire and Rutland's ICB that will happen.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison. I'm sure you'll be a very good influencer on behalf of the people of Rutland. Item 10, a referral of committee decisions to the council.
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Item 9, call-in of decisions from the cabinet meetings during the period from the 27th of March to the 10th of July 2023.
None received, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 10, reports from the cabinet. This is pages 23 to 38 in your pack. We have report number 84/2023 from the cabinet this evening, with recommendations referred to council. Appendix C to this report contains exempt information. I believe council can consider the item in a public session, but should any member wish to discuss any contents of the appendix, then a motion to exclude the press and public will first need to be moved, seconded and approved. Councillor Wise, would you please introduce the report?
Thank you very much. I think the first thing to say is, although I'm presenting the report and I presented it to Cabinet, of course, the majority of the work was done prior to my being portfolio holder. So in many ways, this work is work that I've inherited. There has been quite a bit of work behind this as well, and like Councillor Ellison, I'd like to give thanks for that work. I'm not going to insult everybody and go through the paper chapter and verse. We've had the papers, we've had the chance to read it. The headlines are perhaps that this is due to commence on 1st of January 24. The previous contract was extended so that the two contracts, this and forestry, could align going forward. So the new contract is for 5 years with the possible extension of another 2. A public consultation was carried out. I have been asked about the numbers to satisfy were the percentages sensible. There were 213 responses. A substantial number of respondents felt mowing frequency could be reduced to benefit biodiversity and wildlife. There were previously 10 cuts per annum in urban areas, and the new contract will be for 6 cuts in urban areas. This was benchmarked against other councils, went out and asked how many times a year other councils cut, and 6 seemed to be a good average. The decision on how points were awarded against the submissions from the various people was 50% on the quality of the bid, what they offered, and 50% on price. Social value was included, and I think this is a new criteria. And the I don't know quite how to word this. The company that is likely to get the contract was committed to employing local people, bearing in mind that they will have TUPE, and to providing volunteer training, which, given the number of volunteer groups we have, they offered a range of things that you will have seen in the report, which I think some of our local groups would be very grateful to take up. Needless to say, the costs of this contract are 13% higher than our previous contract. Parishes who undertake their own grass cutting will receive a reduced multiplier. So they get an amount per metre squared at the moment times 10. They will get times that amount times by 6 to take account of the fact we're mowing less. However, the actual rate has been increased. So it's been increased. The grand sum, I think, of 2p a metre squared to 3p. And the company concerned are committed to carbon offsetting, sustainable planting, and the use of green technology where possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wise. Do I have a seconder? Just wait, and then we will get to that bit in a minute. Can we have a seconder, please? Councillor Paul Brown. Now we're opening for debate. Any member can speak once for a maximum of 5 minutes. So over to you, members. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Chair. I refer to page 26 with regard to ponds, ditches and drainage systems. And my question relates to Grampian Way, and I suppose other areas, although I don't have familiarity with them. And in that, it's proposed one visit in late October is sufficient. And I would request that consideration be given to this being 2 visits, with a second in late March. In addition to the culvert, this stream suffers from a steep canalized gradient in its upper reaches and a short levelling off before the culvert. And consequently, the streamside debris, in addition to leaves, causes the stream to quickly back up. And hence, that's one of the reasons that we have the flooding that we have. Apropos this, Councillors Ray Payne, Steve McRobb and myself will shortly meet with East Mercia Rivers Trust to establish whether a long-term eco-friendly solution can be identified for streams in the respective wards of Oakham South and Oakham North West.
Councillor Ross, how is this relevant to the approving the awards of the grounds maintenance contract?
It's the provision of the scope of that contract with regard to the cleaning of ponds, ditches and drainage. And I'm talking about the proposal for the cleaning of ponds, ditches and drains, and this covers 3 sites: Grampian Way, Kestrel Road in Oakham and Firs Avenue in Stirling. And it is proposed under the contract that there will be 1 visit per annum in late October.
So I'm being advised that we cannot reopen that document to revisit it. Yes, the
All right.
colleague here on my right.
Thank you, Chairman. The tender exercise has been concluded. The rules of engagement were made clear to all participants, and the tenders received have been evaluated. And the decision for council this evening is to approve the award to one of the range of operators that are within the documentation before you this evening, and also to make the authorisation to the Strategic Director for Places in consultation with the cabinet member. What members cannot do this evening is reopen the tender process.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wakefield. Do you have another question, Councillor Ross?
No, I've no further questions.
Okay, other members? Councillor Hemsley.
Thank you. While I don't want to reopen the tendering of it, I do hope that there'll be some mechanism to ensure that the environmentally friendly, the carbon neutral journey will be monitored, and there'll be something reported back over the time with the contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members? Councillor Carr.
Again, this isn't about the reopening of the tender, but I was just wondering in terms of reading, I've read the report. There does seem to be a degree of flexibility in some of the councils that you've chosen to highlight on the report, with a minimum of. I'm just aware that some areas of the county do grow faster and quicker in other areas, and I know for a fact on Barleythorpe Road to Langham, it certainly grows a lot quicker in some of those areas. So again, on a safety point, will that be something that is monitored going forward?
Councillor Wise.
I can say that where there is a safety issue, it is always within the contract to put in additional treatment where necessary. That's a safety issue rather than a straightforward mowing issue.
You're saying some areas of Rutland are more fertile than others, Councillor Carr. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Chair. One observation, which I think it's incredibly difficult doing grounds maintenance, because you are juggling three aspects: highway safety around visibility, accessibility, more people are now enjoying the verges and our beautiful countryside, and then of course the crucial element of biodiversity. One question which I don't think is reopening the tender process: obviously there are a list of parishes who manage their own verge cutting. Presumably, if another parish felt that they would prefer a different regime, they would have the option to be able to join. Obviously not for this municipal year, but there could well be that option open to them if they were preferring to manage their own verges. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Wise.
I can confirm that they can opt in or opt out as long as it's done by October the 31st. So for this October 31st to start in January 24.
Councillor McRobb.
Thank you, Chair. Two questions. The first question is whether the issue of flooding on Grampian Way might be considered a matter of safety for residents if it was to flood their houses, their properties, cause damage, and therefore might be open to consideration for additional visits under those terms. And my second question is, when we issue a contract which is for 5 years into the future, in a county that is actually changing under our feet, I wonder what provision there is for varying the kind of maintenance that we apply. One issue that I think might be pertinent here is that we have a number of housing developments going on at the moment and others in the pipeline, all of which potentially could cause changes in the flooding risk throughout urban areas. And I'm asking a general question about what mechanisms are available to us to provide additional responses over and above those in the contract that we're awarding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wise.
I think you raised some important issues. Hand on heart, I'm not absolutely sure what provisions there are to make that drastic a change.
Other members? Councillor Wallop.
To support my colleague, Councillor Wise, I'm sure she will make some inquiries and get back to you outside this meeting.
Any other members? Okay, Councillor Wise, do you wish to sum up? Or not? You don't have to.
I hope you told me I had to sum up as well.
Well, you don't have to. I'm inviting you to. You don't have to.
Can I decline?
Yes. So the motion is that council on the recommendation of cabinet, 1, approves the award of the grounds maintenance contract. 2, authorises the strategic director of places in consultation with the cabinet member with portfolio for highways, transport and the environment to award the contract to the highest scoring bidder resulting from this procurement in line with the award criteria. All those in favour?
22, Chairman.
Against? Abstentions? You recorded that one, Mr. Delaney. Okay, thank you, members. The motion is carried. Item 11, reports from committees of the council. We've got 2 reports this evening from the Constitution Commission. Item 11A is the officer member protocol, pages 39 to 72. This report is number 85/23. Councillor Waller, as chairman of the commission, can you please introduce the report?
Thank you very much. It is important for any council to have an effective officer member protocol. We each have our different roles, and inevitably there will be times when we members will not want to hear what officers are telling us. And a member officer protocol guides us on how to behave in those situations. Equally, it supports officers who have to deliver the messages that we do not want to hear. Councils without a robust and applied member officer protocol are councils at risk of failure. The document you have before you, however, has not had a great deal of discussion within the Constitution Commission. And as a consequence, I am going to defer it until our September meeting so that the due consideration necessary can take place. And members of Constitution Commission, you will find an additional meeting in your diaries to do that. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. So that report will be deferred until the September meeting for further investigation and discussion. Item 11B, the council prayer, pages 73 to 78. In your packs, this is report number 86/2023. Councillor Waller, as chair of the commission, can you please introduce the report?
Thank you. Unlike the previous item, the Constitution Commission has in fact spent a great deal of time considering the council prayer. It's been discussed at various meetings of the commission over the past 2 years or so. As a commission, we feel spending a moment at the beginning of council to reflect on why we are here is of value. But equally, we feel an overtly Christian prayer is not inclusive and does not convey the welcoming and inclusive place we know Rutland to be. The Constitution Commission, therefore, proposes the replacement of the current prayer with the wording in your papers, recommendation 1, which reflects all faiths and none. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waller. Do we have a seconder? Right, it's got quite a lot there. Councillor Johnson, I saw first. Glad to see everyone's awake. So, members, open to debate. Councillor McCartney.
Thank you, Chairman. Someone's going to say something, haven't they? So I have no clear, strong feelings on this either way, if I'm honest. In a nod to Councillor Waller, who is an avid churchgoer herself, I think it is very decent and modern forward thinking to bring a motion like this to council. I myself wear a crucifix around my neck. That doesn't make me desperately religious. It was something borrowed for my wedding and I can't get it off. To give it back to its owner. And I think the motion is quite correct, though. As a council, we ought to be more inclusive than a simple Church of England Christian prayer prior to our meetings, which should in future we have, and maybe we have today, I don't know, members of other religions present, then we ought to be far more inclusive of those here. And I think a moment of thought with a comment like this is just as meaningful to us as any prayer. So I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor McCartney. We do indeed have members of other religions with us this evening. Other members? Yes, Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Chair. I think whatever our individual beliefs or non-beliefs, we do actually need to recognise that Christian traditions are at the heart of our society and represent a lot of the fabric on which government and our society is based. Rutland County Council is part of that government, and we need to actually recognise those traditions. But I think it's one of the strengths of our society that actually, and government, that we are adaptable to change. And I think now is the time to make that change. I think we have to be cautious in these changes. It's easy to ditch things that we think are no longer useful and then find that actually they've been quite a building block. But I think in this case, the Constitution Commission did debate this at some length. And in the case of the council prayer, I do believe it's now time to make that change, not to abolish it completely, but to make a change to recognise our society, and that we've to have a moment of reflection or prayer according to one's wishes at the start of the meeting. I think is a very positive thing to do. We're here to represent our residents. We're making decisions that affect all the people who live here and others. And therefore, I think it's a really useful thing to do at the start of our meeting. So I would support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Powell. Councillor McRobb.
I also want to support the proposal, and I merely want to make a mention of something that Councillor Powell alluded to, that, as we all know, throughout the recent history of our country, Christian traditions, culture and values have imbued government. But if members would reflect for a moment that at this point in time, we have a Prime Minister who is a Hindu. I don't think I need to say any more.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McRobb. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for dispensation of sitting down. I'd like to support the motion. I think it's very important with public bodies that the body represents the people it represents or aspires to represent. And we need to reflect that society is changing. And I think we need to be at the forefront of that, not behind. So I'm in favour.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Johnson. Any other members? Councillor Hemsley.
Thank you, Chair. I know that on some occasions when we've had the prayer, people have remained seated. And I don't have any concern either way about that. And I do understand people with medical needs need to remain seated, but maybe there's something we could actually do is to stand, regardless of how you feel about it, to engage in this moment of reflection before we start. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hemsley. And I certainly will be standing for a moment of reflection, and I would encourage and hope other members would now be able to do the same. Any other members?
Yes, we're going down on pains. I'll happily stand for a moment of reflection. No problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, just as a new member, I would very much support the motion for standing up for a period of reflection.
Thank you. Any other members? An interesting fact is that there's only 2 countries in the world which have spaces reserved in their legislature for religious figures. One of those is Iran, and the other one is the UK. So that is just an interesting fact. The motion is. Do you need to sum up, Councillor Waller?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion is that Council 1 resolves that the council prayer be replaced at council meetings with a moment of reflection as detailed in the report, and 2 approves the inclusion of the exact wording of the moment of reflection within the council's constitution. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
(21), Chairman.
Those against?
1, Chairman.
Abstentions?
1, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, members. Motion is carried. Item 12, reports from scrutiny, pages 79 to 104 in your pack. We have report number 80/2023 from the Strategic Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Ross, can I invite you to introduce the report as chair, please?
Thank you. As Councillor Wise mentioned previously, I'm also in the position where I was not involved with this particular committee last year, and therefore the report that is presented for your consideration this evening. I think the one point that I would highlight before I make some more specific points is that it was the first year of that particular format of the committee, and therefore inevitably there were some issues around its operation, and that was a subject of a separate report, which I would actually now like to turn to, and that is in page 103 in your pack, and it's referenced under the subject of looking ahead for the committee, and specifically how the committee might best address concerns raised previously by both members and officers over the effectiveness of the committee. So we've had a scrutiny workshop run by the Centre for Governance and Scrutiny, held on the 23rd of May for all councillors. A scrutiny work programming event was held for members of the Strategic Overview and Scrutiny Committee with the members of the CLT on the 7th of June. A draft work plan for the Scrutiny Committee for the municipal year 2023-24 has been compiled as the basis of monitoring progress, and we will report on that at each council meeting. Processes have also are in draft to be implemented, and guidance produced regarding the correct procedures for proposing work items, as well as forming task and finish groups and evidence panels. And before I go to the final point, I'd just like to say and to emphasize that all contributions are welcome in terms of task and finish and evidence panels, and our esteemed chairman is presently fulfilling the role of chair of the Economic and Strategy Group, and it would be appreciated if those who are not within cabinet were prepared to provide some time. So the final point to say is that the committee will consider at the meeting on the 13th of July proposals for a revised form of working. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stevenson. Okay, members, questions, debate? Oh, Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Chair. It was just to absolutely underscore the point that Councillor Ross has just made regarding scrutiny is an all member, please get involved. And I'll refer you to pages 95 through. So I didn't bring my reading glasses, so I'm just flicking through. It is the summary of the groups and panels. Clearly, the appetite for scrutiny last year was substantial. However, you will see the word ceased cropping up, customer experience ceased, speeding concerns ceased. I won't read out the report, so I absolutely underscore the point that we do want to add huge amounts of value to the decisions that this council makes for the benefit of our residents, but it is not just the members of the scrutiny panel, it is all other backbenchers, and all help, insight, support will be gratefully received. And I'm hoping that for the 23-24 report, the word ceased won't be there in such great plenty. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Other members? Councillor Hemsley.
Thank you. I'm becoming a frequent flyer. I am actually partly responsible for us having a single scrutiny panel along with my cabinet at previous times. And I think it's a very important piece of work that we can do. And the addition of task and finish groups and working groups and all those is going to make it work. But, and the but is, everyone in this room needs to get behind it. You cannot sit on the sidelines and say, well, it's not this, it's not that. If you want to talk to somebody, talk to Councillor Ross here or Councillor Stevenson and say, I want to know about this, I want to explore it, and then it can be considered. So please get your backs behind this one.
Yes, wholeheartedly agree with that, Councillor Hemsley. Yes, yes, get involved, and we're there to hold people to account. That's part of our role, so please do. Any other members? Okay, Councillor Ross, do you have any final comments?
Simply to thank Councillor Helmsley for his supportive comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the motion is that council notes that the scrutiny annual report for 2022 to 23 and approves its publication. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
I believe that's unanimous, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, members. Motion is carried. Item 13, joint arrangements and external organisations. Members will have seen the circulated reports via the agenda supplement. So I'll take each report as received and noted, unless members have any questions. I submitted a report regarding the Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland Local Nature Recovery Strategy meeting, which I believe Councillor Wise and Councillor Smith also attended. Yeah, well, there was a Councillor T. Smith on the list, but that might not have been our Councillor Smith. Right, okay. Has anyone got any questions on that? It's in its infancy at the minute, so I'm not sure I'll be able to answer too many questions. But if there's no questions, Councillor Harvey, do you wish to speak to your report?
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, members will have noted the contents, hopefully, that was circulated regarding the Combined Fire Authority. Just two things to note. Hopefully, the annual kind of report was appended to those. So please feel free to distribute that and get out the great work they do. One other thing that I mentioned briefly was, well, I'm in the process of arranging with the fire service the very successful evening that we have at the fire station where we go through what they do. I know previous years when councillors have attended, it is actually a really knowledgeable and really great evening. So as soon as I can share details of dates and things, I will, and I'd encourage everyone to attend. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Waller.
Thank you. Thank you for arranging or trying to arrange another session, Councillor Harvey, at the fire station. It is absolutely worthwhile going, and I would encourage all members who've not been to go when it becomes available. You wouldn't believe how much you will learn from it. It's a fabulous evening, and thank you so much for doing it again.
Thank you, Councillor Waller. The only minor disappointment is that you don't get to slide down the pole anymore. But it is a very interesting and entertaining evening. Item 14, notices of motion.
None received, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Item 15, corporate progress report 2022-23, pages 105 to 176 of your pack. This is report number 87/2023. Councillor Johnson, would you please introduce the report?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very pleased to introduce this report to Council, and that I regret it didn't appear before the Scrutiny Committee before being put before Council. And I hope and trust that this will be able to be incorporated in next year's timetable. I'd like to thank all at the Council involved in preparation of the report, as it is a remarkable exercise in transparency, which I think has a lot of value. The council should be proud that it achieves its objectives in communicating with the residents in a very transparent manner. It enables the residents of Rutland to understand how the council views its priorities in relation to its strategic plan and the progress it has made over the year. In the past, I've seen this report and been slightly sceptical about it. And one of the things I challenged in the run-up to this meeting is the evidence behind the report. And I was pleased to find that when I challenged and asked for evidence, the evidence was supplied. So I'm now actually a lot more confident than I was in previous years that the report is underpinned by actual evidence. I think we should celebrate the report in that it indicates a lot of things the council does very well. I think we should also understand that the residents of Rutland will always demand more. And I suspect many members of the public will be surprised at some of the claims and will think that we should place more focus on the things that matter to them and in which we do not do so well. And I would like to see some of that in the next year. Having been to a training session prior to this meeting, which rendered a lot of my comments moot, I think what I'd like to say is that the council, as many members will know, is taking steps to improve its systems and its reporting in terms of this report. And I look forward to those bearing fruit in future years. In summary, I'd like to commend this report to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Waller. Members, open to questions and debate. Councillor Smith is looking as if you might want to ask a question.
I would just like to comment that obviously a great deal of work has gone into this this document, and as to the officers' good work that this has come about. Before we started this meeting, we had the tutorial on corporate performance, and what came out on the questioning was the quality of the data. And just going through this document, and I came up with one quote, which I thought, is that really true? That was on satisfaction with bus services. And it says 98%, which I would have thought was extremely high. They obviously haven't come and asked residents of North Loughton, and I guess other villages around about, because we have surveyed relevant our residents on this and found it very poor satisfaction with services. So I'll just make the point that that data needs to be qualified and to be as accurate as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Got any comment on that, Councillor Johnson?
I think that's the point I was trying to make, really, when I said that the public would actually challenge some of the claims, and it's why I challenged evidence behind things. The issue I think the council faces in future is to make sure it consults with residents as equally as it consults with its own employees and the council.
Okay, thank you. Other members? Oh, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you. And it actually follows on from Councillor Johnson's point. I think there's a part that we can all play in getting our residents to take part in the various consultations that come out, and actually spreading them and spreading the word that they are out. As we know, the data is only as good as what goes into it. And if 98% of the very few people that use the bus service might be really, really happy with it. And that's the thing. If the people that don't use the bus services think I have no need to fill this in, then it skews the data slightly. So I would just encourage everyone to, we know there's lots and lots of consultations, and sometimes we seem to have 10 or 15 running at the same time. But I would just ensure that we push them out as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Waller.
Thank you. On the question of consultation, our colleagues, officers in transport, are actually going through a process of consultation with residents at the moment. And that's including not simply putting something on the website, but physically going to some of our villages that have got the bus routes on. And in fact, they are in North Loughton on Thursday. And North Loughton Clerk, I emailed today and asked that information be put on the various social media within the village. For those of you who don't know, Councillor Smith actually lives in North Loughton and is chairman of the parish council there. It's also equally important, I think, on that. When we as county councillors are advised of things happening in our ward, like we were or I was on this transport consultation, that we get it out there in our wards as well, use whatever is used locally, Facebook or whatever, to make sure that people are aware and know. I think that will all help in terms of our information gathering, and with good information, we're not just data rich, but we data rich and information poor, we become information good,
and that helps us improve services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waller. Councillor Stevenson.
I think probably just slightly developing on points that have already made it. It is good to hear Councillor Johnson as a new councillor coming to the organisation that actually you saw in hard data, acknowledging your points, Councillor Smith, that there's an awful lot of good that this council does. And I think what is really clear in this report that there is no sense of resting on laurels, and I look forward to seeing 23-24. The other point I wanted to make, which is around this engagement, and apologies councillor Wise, I think you said 213 or 300 and something responses. We know anecdotally that grounds maintenance and verge cutting absolutely causes very lively debate on many a social media platform. So I think our challenge is, how do you change all of those? I've commented on Nextdoor or Facebook or wherever. How do you get that message across that actually you do need to take the time to fill in these consultations? Because if you're aerated about it, it is very easy to feel you haven't been listened to, etc. And just to underscore that point, waste management struck me as something absolutely that residents can be educated and engaged with. And Councillor Wise has kindly asked me to do Rutland Climate Action again, and that will be something certainly that I'll pick up. And my final point, Chair, and I can't remember the precise reference, but I am minded that we've got a couple that have been difficult to deliver the ambition because of staff vacancies. And I said this in our recent audit meeting, that I think still remains a huge risk for not just this council, but local government. We can have the best laid plans, the best strategies and the best policies, but if we don't have the feet on the ground to deliver it, it all becomes slightly, I'll leave you to choose your own word for that one. Thank you, Chair. I will now stop.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. And I think the points that have been raised, it's really important that we all use our own social media networks and things that we've got, whether we've got a Facebook group for the village or WhatsApp group or whatever it is, to put these things out there so people do engage. I mean, obviously you can't make them, but they've got the opportunity then, haven't they? Have we got any more? Yes, Councillor Hemsley.
It wouldn't be right for me to miss out talking this time. I noticed tomorrow Cabinet have got a paper and they're looking at maybe customer service and what may happen. And I also look at the data we've got here saying 150 to 160 calls a day and 28 to 30 cases a day requesting for a service. And I just hope that when we put all this together and we review, we understand those calls. Are they actually chasing up a request for service from yesterday or the week before as well? So we've got proper data spread across there, so we make sure we're offering the best service. Because one of the things that really frustrates most of the residents I speak to is the fact that, you know, they haven't heard back. And I think no matter what business you're in, if you don't hear back, you think they don't care. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, yeah, a point well made, Councillor Hemsley. Any other members? Councillor Johnson, any final words?
I would like the council to support the report and look forward to improvements next year.
Okay, so the motion is that council notes the contents of the annual report and the performance of the council over the last year. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Unanimous, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So that is carried. Item 16, any urgent business?
I have not been notified of any, Chairman, if you haven't.
I haven't. The date of the next meeting is 4th of September 2023. That concludes the business of this meeting. Thank you, members, and those listening in. I declare this council meeting closed at 8 p.m.